Come here, Tom.
Well, I was a little shocked. I don't feel like I deserve any of that. I mean, I'm just doing what I do, knowing what I've done for the last 25 years. So.
A few words of modesty from our May Trucker of the Month, owner-operator Matthew Karr, there at the top. He was nominated in Overdrive's Trucker of the Year competition for 2023 by his wife, Koren Karr, who surprised him with the nomination. The reason, I asked him for his reaction to it. To my memory, all of our nominees have as yet this year come with the knowledge of the owner-operator involved when the nominations come from someone other than that owner, as it were. Owner-operator Karr is well-deserving, no doubt, coming off a banner year pulling a fuel tanker in various areas of the country, leased quality transportation out of Halltown, Missouri. I'm Todd Dills, and for this edition of Overdrive Radio for Friday, June 9th, 2023, and dropping at the world-famous overdriveonline.com this coming Monday, we're walking through Karr's quarter-century trucking with him in his own words. It's a story full of the highs and lows you can expect from most of our lives. In Karr's case, early mistakes delivered real value and learning experiences that continue to serve a healthy respect for the difficulty that is small business ownership. This year, the fuel hauler setting out on his second voyage towards success with authority, still in his very early stages, though he's much better prepared this time around than he was the last. In launching in a time like the present, he's banking on the wisdom and a maxim he's shared with others about trucking as an owner-operator.
I told him, I said, if you want to buy a truck and you want to get started, do it when times are bad. Because if you make it when times are bad, you're going to do it when times are good. If you buy them when times are good, you're not going to make it when times are bad, you know.
As for his wife, Koren, here's what she had to say about her nomination of Karr and his K-Mac trucking business.
I thought that this is something that he's had that lifelong dream of doing, and I've watched him do all of this from the ground up, and I've been very impressed with his abilities on having the contacts that he has. He doesn't make any rash decisions. He thinks everything through obsessively before making decisions, which is really a great quality to have. But I've just been very proud of watching him grow through this whole process and learning about all of these. I mean, it's tough. There's so many permits and taxes and licenses and things to do, and it's just been really neat seeing him grow as a business owner, and then having the authority for hazmat was his ultimate goal. So he finally made it.
On the other side of our break, then, we'll dive into owner-operator Karr's history, which stretches back into the 1990s to Southwest Missouri, not far from where he's headquartered today.
Every diesel needs to defend against clogged injectors, low lubricity, and slipping fuel economy. The best defense is the best defender. House Diesel Defender with advanced IDX4 detergent. Get a deeper clean, maximum lubricity, and boosted fuel economy. Guaranteed. House Diesel Defender. Get optimal performance. House for every diesel.
Find more information at HOWES.houseproducts.com. You can try out the warm weather House Diesel Defender fuel treatment yourself if you just drop me a message on our podcast line with your name and address. I'll send you a prize pack including a bottle of Defender and more from the company. That number's 615-852-8530. Alternately, send me an email at tdills@randallriley.com. May Trucker of the Month, Matthew Karr, everyone.
Missouri, little town called Summersville. About 550 people. My graduating class was 25 or 26 people. I hate to admit to it, but I've just always been fascinated by these stupid ass trucks. Now, because I've been in it most of my adult life. When I was a kid, I loved them. As a kid, my best friend's dad he hauled cars, for a living. And I used to, if they do something short, I could go ride with him every once in a while. And then my stepdad's, he was my neighbor, but my stepdad's cousin had an old international cab over. He used to haul cattle. They used to haul their own cattle. They were a pretty big outfit. So I'd always go talk to him, and he'd let me look around the truck. You know, I never could go with him. You know, I don't know what he was always longer stuff, but I was putting a pot and different things.
Right.
So even as a kid, my sister and my brother used to, every time we'd pass the truck, I'd always say Peterbilt, you know, as a young man, you know.
Yeah.
I was fascinated with them stupid Peterbilts.
And now I believe you, if I'm remembering right, you're the proud owner of what is it, 389?
Well, I've had several of them, yes, but yeah, it's a 389. I'm in a 21. I ordered it. I spec'd it out, 290-inch wheelbase. It's legendary blue. It's a nice truck.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything overboard with it because it's still a tool. It's hammer's a hammer.
Yep.
It's still a tool. I wasn't even trying to make it a show truck. No point in that. I just wanted to make it nice for me.
What's the sleeper on it?
It is 78, I believe. It's the bigger one that you could get from the factory, not the super sleeper.
You're fascinated with trucks as a young age. You're riding along with your friend's father. When did you kind of make moves to actually start working in trucking?
Well, I moved up. I moved up to Southwest Missouri when I was probably 18, 19, somewhere around there. And how I got started is my brother's neighbor. Is I'd go see my brother, and they lived out in a little town called Freistadt. Well, their neighbor was a dairy farmer, and the dairy farmer, his kids had trucks. His daughter and her husband had trucks. Well, their daughter, which happened to be my first wife, ended up getting involved with them. And I honestly owe my career to that man. It's my ex-father-in-law is who it is. And he's the one that taught me how to drive. And that was 25 years ago, and he'd been there for 20 years. So, I don't come from the new breed of truckers. I come from that old school, get your hand smacked if you've missed a gear mentality. And I literally get your hand smacked if you missed a gear mentality. Didn't have automatics back then.
A friend of mine, another old school driver for sure, he called it referenced the same thing. He said the yardstick method of driver training. You sit guy sitting back in the sleeper, if you miss, you're gonna get the yardstick.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. He passed away a few years ago, but
what was his name?
Andy Morgan. He taught me. He just taught me everything, and some of the best advice he ever gave me was, you never know as much as you think you know, and don't ever try to outdrive yourself. And that's, the best advice he ever gave me. Don't go beyond your limitations.
Yeah, be aware of your own limitations.
Yeah, be aware of your own limitations.
And it sounds like that served you well. I mean, I think Koren told me you haven't had any significant accidents over the course of your career.
No. I help petroleum products. Yep. So you always have to be on the defense.
What were your former in-laws there? What kind of work were they in again when you were first getting trained?
Oh, it was reefer. Yeah. That was the easiest thing to get into back in the day. Well, it still is, I think. Anybody can do that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of the things that is a little bit less impacted by some of the cycles of economic activity, I guess.
Sure.
We all got to eat. We all want our food and beverage, right?
Absolutely. I think I was 22 when I actually got my license, and a lot of people wouldn't really hire me until I was 23. But back then everybody jumped jobs, but I believe I was working for CTI. I think I was working for CTI, Central Transport or Central Trucking out of what do they call their name? Anyway, they're out of Indiana, and they're they have a big terminal in Springfield.
Okay.
And I was going out. I was in early 20s, 22, probably 23, barely 23. I was going out west one day, and I think I was in Wyoming, and I ran into a tanker driver, and he pulled up. I mean, he passed me, and I went to the truck stop. I pulled up to get fuel. He was sitting there in a lawn chair, just kicking back, unloading. So I started talking to him a little bit about it. And, we talked about different things. And he was telling me about how fast paced it is. You get to relax a little bit, like he was unloading, sitting in a lawn chair, because you want to be with where your shutoffs are. And, about how many loads he does a day and there's different things. And I thought I might be interested in that. Well, me and being young and ignorant, I quit that job, went to work for another job because the trucks weren't fast enough for me, young and stupid. And I worked for a guy by the name of Mike Moss, and it was Starport Leasing out of Springfield, Missouri. And actually, he didn't lease trucks yet. So I worked for him as a company driver, and somebody talked him into doing a lease purchase on these trucks. And he ended up doing that, and I did real well for a while. I did real good for a while, and I ended up getting hooked up with some of them old timers, and like, oh, you don't need to do that. And so, it was stupid stuff. I mean, literally, we drove like idiots, and fuel was going up, and I wasn't making any, 82 cents a mile as an owner operator. What I thought to be an owner operator, that wasn't. I didn't know squat back then, and got too many speeding tickets is what happened. And actually got my license suspended for 30 or 90 days. I don't remember, for too many tickets, too many points.
Wow.
Anyway, ended up letting him have that truck back. Like I said, as a lease purchase, they all expect them lease purchases to go back.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Anyway, so I had to work BS jobs. Ended up getting custody of my daughters. Had to drive a dump truck, got my license straightened out, drive a dump truck for several years. Never forgot about the gas business. Never forgot about it. And then got an opportunity to work for an outfit. They're still around, but I didn't know much about them. Hauling ethanol. Started with that, and then ended up going to work for a company called Solar. They're out of Des Moines, Iowa. And it was a good company. It still is a good company. And they're still around. The pay back then wasn't the greatest. And I thought, well, I could do better. So I went to work for another guy, by the name of John Autry, pulling tanker. This was probably 15, 17 years ago, I'm thinking. John Autry wasn't that long ago, but went to work for a guy by the name of John Autry. And he, owner-operator, he's had several trucks through the years, and he kind of mentored me on owning, and I listened to what he did. I paid attention because, I knew times were changing. You had to do things different. And gas was, a whole different beast, a whole different monster of how you operate your business. I learned a lot from him. And so I kind of I kind of tell everybody he's my mentor, because when it comes to trucking business, he knows his stuff. And so I just learned from him. Most people don't think about this, especially big fleets, but one of the simplest things that he has taught me is spend a little bit now will save you a lot of money later. And doing maintenance on these trucks, simple things that's not that expensive will save you a lot of money. And something else that he taught me is you're not always going to be able to pay yourself, but you always got to make sure your drivers come first and your company comes first. Even if you have bad times, you can't pay yourself. We went through some rough times. There was times we only had $100 in our business account, but we made it through. We always made it through. But one of the things I took from his page is minor things, believe it or not, shocks. All right. Especially with what we do with gas, shocks are only going to last you about a year on the tractor, especially drive shocks. That's everybody's like, well, when they start leaking, that's changing. No. When you start feeling them, one of my mechanics that I does, he's like, I don't know how you know when them shocks are going bad. I said, just feel it. But, think about it. Shocks are $100 a piece. Tires are $700 a piece, $700 a piece. bad shocks makes your tires go bad, stuff like that. Change your rear end fluid properly. Just stuff like that. I mean, just simple things like that. A little bit of maintenance, pre-maintenance goes a long ways.
You mentioned the tough times. I think maybe we might be jumping ahead a little bit. Tell me though, when did you really go out and buy the first truck? Was that 6 years ago?
The first actual truck that I bought, wasn't a lease deal. Well, I only did that once, and the reason it took so long is I was raising my daughters. But I'll tell you this, having custody of my kids, I didn't want to commit to something that I knew I would have to commit to 100%. So after I got custody, until my daughters got grown is before I bought my first truck, which part of that is my wife, now that has supported me and helped me get through the bad times. I'm going to tell you, she's a hell of a lot smarter than I am. But, but anyway, so 6 years ago, I bought my first truck. I started out leasing on to a few companies here and there. Didn't care for it. I wanted to go back. I only did it for about a year. Went back to gas. I was leased on to a guy a couple different times. Quality Transportation out of Halltown, named Dave Baum. I got to give him kudos too. He's a good man. He's a great man. He just, hauling gas, leased on to him probably 5 years ago. So we've been 6 years, 7 years,
Almost 7.
almost 7 years. So I've been leased on to him off and on. There was a short spot in between there that I got my own authority and went out on my own. Well, I made the mistake of not listening to a lot of these guys. Don't grow too fast. Don't grow too fast. I did. Tried to buy too much. Insurance got high. Luckily, when I bought, the market was down, and I got to sell everything when the market was on the uptick. So that diverted that disaster. But anyway, so leased on to him for several years, and then last couple of years I've done pretty well for myself money wise, and I don't have any depreciation left, so I decided to buy a trailer and go back out on my own again.
He's well prepped for this, as we'll hear, having learned from his past mistakes operating a small fleet and with Quality Transportation I mentioned earlier, taking a lead role on various emergency services projects for them through the years, including recent times.
Probably January, February, March, out in Colorado, I was bidding on work, getting the work, and then dispatching, probably about 5 of his trucks while I was out in Colorado. Which was great that he allowed me to do that, because my rates bidding that stuff were a lot higher than what he would have bid it for, because he would have just
really,
when it comes to emergency stuff, he lets some of his owner operators just bid on it and go on with it, just handle it. Well, he's more focused, which by all rights he needs to be. He's more focused on his customers, his daily customers, and which is good. That's what you should do. That's how you stay in business. Them one-offs that make you a lot of money in the short term don't necessarily keep you in business. So
now, are you about to go bet your business on those one-offs?
No.
Sometimes.
Sometimes,
yeah.
If there's a disaster.
Yeah, it's like emergency relief, hurricanes, or like back in February, Suncor out in Colorado went down for a while. So
that's right.
Half the gas trucks in the country are out there hauling fuel.
So you recently purchased a trailer?
Yeah, it is a 2023 Polar gas trailer, 4-hole, 9,500 gallon capacity. We don't haul that much. It's just what the capacity is. 4 different compartments. You can load 4 different products on there technically.
Is that a common scenario? Different products on the same trailer?
Oh yeah, it's done every day. I mean, every day. That's how most loads are built. Okay. You'll have, let's just say, you'll have 6,000 regular unleaded. You may have 1,000 premium and 1,000 diesel on there, or 65 1-to-1, or something similar to that scenario.
Right. And when you're doing these deliveries, you're picking up where and delivering to where? Like, what are some of the different scenarios that you're in?
you have your terminals where the pipeline, your storage terminals where they pipeline,
right,
from the refineries go to, and then they have big ground tanks. And then you will go to the pipeline terminals to load, and then you'll deliver to gas stations or whatever. And I have to tell you, you've probably seen some of these gas stations. It's not the easiest thing to do with a 290-inch wheelbase truck, which mine's stupid long. When I ordered it, I wasn't planning on coming back to gas, but I did. But I managed with it. It does fine. Most people don't realize, we're getting truck transports. You've seen how long gas trailers are, and trucks. In the gas stations, most people get nervous about pulling a, fifth wheel camper into or bumper hitch camper, and we're having to maneuver that, and that's what people don't understand when they see us a gas truck's going into somewhere a certain way. There's a reason we're doing that, because our storage is in one spot, and we have to be creative of how we get in and out, and calculating of how we get in and out of some of these places.
I made reference to a tiny station on Porter Road, my Nashville neighborhood, where I've often seen combination tankers parked for delivery, in spots and at angles that are no doubt a testament to those operators' understanding of geometry and skill maneuvering the rigs. Car's been there generally time and again, as noted, and here in Nashville too, more particularly.
Oh, I've hauled down there a lot. Yeah, a couple of years ago, the Kroger's were having a dispute with their carrier, I guess, or whatever, the contract was up. So I was down there hauling the Kroger's stores. You've seen that. You've seen how tight some of them are.
Oh, yeah. That's one I was thinking of, too. It's not the particular one that I was thinking of when I was talking to you, but there is, yeah. Kroger on, this is in my neighborhood. This is like at Eastland and Gallatin Avenue. I don't know if you know that one at all, but it's on the east side of town here. And anyway, it's pretty tight.
Yeah, I hauled all over the place out there, all in Kroger.
So what happened to you? What happened to you guys around COVID and the kind of, sounds like you just basically got a little bit overextended with purchases and trying to grow too fast. How big did you get up to in terms of the number of folks that you had running under your authority, and what happened? Tell me that story. Well,
we made it through COVID pretty good. It wasn't I was overextended on money. I was overextended on it. It was hard to get drivers,
And then we lost two of them at the same time.
We lost two drivers at the same time.
Good.
And insurance for three trucks. I had 4 trailers. 2 were reefers. 1 was a tanker, and the other one was a hopper bottom. And the insurance for that, because it was new authority, was $77,000 a year just for that. So everything was fine. We had enough money in the bank to float us through. But when I wasn't having revenue coming in because my guys would quit or things would get slow or this or that or the other, I still had them bills to pay, especially that insurance. So I finally decided I'm done. I'm done with this stuff, So I'll give it a couple years to watch what the economy's doing, and maybe start fresh and not over grow, not grow too fast again. And I'm not going to. I don't plan on doing anything more than myself. Just one truck, one trailer for many, many years. I mean, we had some slow times in COVID, but it because I had 2 reefer trailers. That's why. Because like I said, anybody can get reefer and hopper bottom, and all 3 of them. My tanker sat for almost a year before I sold it, but with all 3 of them, it was food grade product, so we stayed going pretty good.
Now, do you have you just got the tanker at the moment? I wonder. I was just going to ask if you had any of those trailers left at all.
Sold all of them. I got everything. Sold all my trucks, all my trailers, and I got lucky. The market was starting to come back up. Starting to go down now.
Your truck.
I kept my truck. Yes, absolutely. I kept my truck. But, there's a friend of mine that was wanting to buy a truck. Was it last year when the market was going crazy high and going stupid? I told him not to do it. And luckily he listened to me. He's like, oh, and he's an older guy. Oh, Matthew, I sure am glad I listened to you. I said, Robert, I've been through these ups and downs and swings for, 25 years. And a lot of guys don't realize, it baffles their mind that I'm at the age that I am, which is younger than them. And I've been driving longer than a lot of them. But I've literally been doing this my entire adult career. But I told him, I said, if you want to buy a truck and you want to get started, do it when times are bad. Because if you make it when times are bad, you're going to do it when times are good. If you buy them when times are good, you're not going to make it when times are bad. I'm glad he listened to me. And that's why things are slowed down a little bit. The economy's not doing great. Interest rates are going up, which I've luckily got pretty good interest rates on my trailer. If you can make it through the slow times, you can flourish in the good. But a lot of these guys do it backwards, in my opinion.
Matthew Karr is hopeful that serves him well with his new run at Trucking with Authority. Fortunately, he's in equipment at what he considers reasonable prices. That new trailer he mentioned, but also his 2021 Pete 389. He's about half through the note there, fortunately purchased prior to the big run on equipment amid the pandemic-inspired shortages.
I've ordered mine brand new, ordered it, and spec'd it out the way I want it. I gave $100, with everything I had done, it was like $174,000 for it.
Right.
A year later, I had people offer me $250 for it on a used truck, $225, $250. I'm like, what am I going to replace it with? So I kept it.
Probably a good decision. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause the new ones are, if you can even get one ordered, they're what, $250 now, I think.
When you get approved, where are you going to be? Is this local work that you're doing, or is this,
yeah.
Are you going to be centered on a particular locale, or is this something where you will go to a certain place and spend a lot of time there servicing stations and then come back to a different place? How are you planning to approach it?
It's a little bit of both is how that works.
Okay.
Some of the suppliers that I've set up with, they like the idea to have someone that will travel for them, which is good because you can charge a premium freight rate on that and go into a location where they may have a bunch of people have the flu or something, or too many people on vacation. You can go into an area like, let's take Nashville. Nashville, contracts might be having issues, or pipeline might be down. That pad may be down or something. So if you're willing to travel, that's why I have a sleeper on my truck. Another reason, if you're willing to travel, you can have a premium place. But most of the time, though, you just run around local, and that's why you see a lot of gas trucks with sleepers on them. The big guys or the smaller outfits is because the ones that are willing to travel is the ones that, can capitalize on them. You remember, was it last November, old Tucker Carlson said that we only had 30 days fuel of supply left. So that's not incorrect. That's normal.
Right.
That's all we really have. That's all we have is if all the refineries stop working, period, then we'll have in the national reserves, we'll have 30 days left.
Right.
But what happens is that all goes for the government. That's strategic reserves. That's what it's for.
Right.
Well, everybody on the East Coast panicked. So
Let's just say here it was a good time to be a fuel hauler last year. Karr did very well, and he's learned a lot about the fuel movement business over the years.
We charge by the gallon. We charge by the gallon. So you have so much per gallon per mile is what you charge. Like 0 to 15 is maybe 3 cents a gallon is what you're charging. But the market, the cost on the freight's usually fixed pretty much, unless, then you got fuel surcharge and stuff on top of that. But the price when you're buying it is up and down constantly up and down. So they're playing the market just like the stock market is playing the market. Right. So, if they can, when the price changes at certain time. If the price is going way up, then they load as much as they can before that time. But sometimes it catches them too, because it may be going up 10 cents, one day, and then they buy it for, let's just say, make it easy numbers, and because this is not their actual price, but let's just say it's $1. Let's just say it's $1 a gallon to buy it at the rack, and then it goes up 10 or 15 cents, at time X. Well, then the next day it ends up going down, and they load a full load of gas and go put it in the ground. The next day, it freaking stuff drops, 25 cents. Then they lost money. So it's all a game they play.
Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes. Keeps you from getting bored, I suppose.
Yeah. Fringe benefits of this kind of work.
Yeah.
This last year has been pretty crazy one for you guys, I'm sure. Doing that kind of work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I first started, fuel band out moved a penny one way, up or down. It may stay the same. If it moved 2 cents, everybody was in a panic mode. Now it may have 10, 20 cent swings. Oh, it was after the new administration got in, things started going crazy. There was 90 cent swings on diesel fuel at the.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's huge. 90 cents a gallon swings.
What's the insurance gonna look like here?
Not bad. It's not bad. No, because Great West they have a program for if you one truck, one trailer, small operators like that, they're pretty fair.
Right.
Pretty fair. One of the reasons my insurance was so high before is because a lot of these cotton picking brokers or whoever you hauled for wanted you to have, $300,000 to $500,000 worth of cargo liability. Well, none of their stuff you're hauling is even worth $100,000 or even $20,000. They want you to have that cargo, on there.
Right.
Where with fuel, my cargo is really low. What is high is my liability portion, and because it's fuel and hazardous material, and I have an umbrella policy too. But yeah, some of these outfits that think their stuff's worth more than what it really is. Now I get it if it really is worth that, but a lot of these places wanted you to have that you hauled for, $250,000 to $500,000 worth of cargo, and that's where my insurance went up.
Right.
So,
right.
And it wasn't worth it. Trust me, the freight wasn't worth what they wanted you to carry. As far as
right,
it didn't pay worth of what they wanted you to have in insurance.
This time out with his motor carrier authority, the owner-operator moves forward with the full support of his partner at home, of course. Here's Koren Karr describing how the two met while working with Solar Transport to take us through to the end.
We met in the gas industry. So we both worked at Solar together, Solar Transport. Okay. And we met through that, and we immediately clicked. We were really good friends from the very beginning. I don't think it was even that we had a lot in common necessarily. It was just, we had the same sense of humor and the same industry experience. And then we were just friends for years, and
we leaned on each other when the other one was going through a divorce.
Yeah, we both went through divorces not too far apart from each other.
Not because of each other.
It's very, very important to mention.
Right.
Well, so then we leaned on each other, and we dated other people after our divorces, and then somehow he asked if I wanted to go to dinner one night after work, and I said, yeah, just like for a dinner, just to meet after work. And then he came and picked me up, and he had flowers, and I knew that was actually
a bad day.
I had a really bad day, and he picked me up with flowers, and I realized it was actually a date, and we've been together.
I didn't even
ever
realize
since.
It was a date either at that time.
It was a date. So we met through the fuel industry, and then we can't get out of trucking. I've tried. I went back to school to get a degree in criminology, and ended up right back in trucking at Solar after I finished my degree.
A big thanks here to both the Karrs for their time, and congrats to Matthew for the nod for Overdrive's Trucker of the Year award, for sure. You can enter your own 1 to 3 truck business or put forward an exceptional owner-operator you know who's well-deserving via the nomination form at overdriveonline.com. I'll put a link to it in the show notes wherever you're listening, and if you haven't, leave Overdrive Radio a rating or review there. No doubt it helps interested owners find the podcast. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker songwriter long-haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis Snake Man himself, Lamick. Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own news editor Matt Cole, social media coordinator Holly Young, executive editor Alex Lockey, and video editors Lawson Rudisell and Andrew Glenn. We'll see you next time.